chop wood.
What?
What do you think my name is Chip? Like, obviously need to chip my wood, you know what I'm saying?
I'm recording, by the way.
Oh my god, hello! Hello, Casey, hello. Yeah, so like I was saying, to defeat emotions and anxiety is to become oneself, you know? That's what I was saying. Thank you, Casey.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cousin was in the room with me. He just left.
Yeah, it was actually someone else talking. It wasn't Jason.
No, that wasn't me. It doesn't sound like me at all, to be honest.
So, welcome back to Figuring It Out. I'm Casey Timmons.
And I'm your host, co-host, whatever you want to call me, Jason Chip. Just don't call me late for supper. You know that's what they say, right?
What? Just don't call me late for supper, though. Because I always be on time.
Call me a hoe, call me a slut, whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me late for supper.
Yo. So today we're going to be talking about coping mechanisms, which ones are helpful versus the ones that are harmful.
Okay. Yes. So do you want to start or do I want to start? How are we doing this? Bang for buck? What are we doing?
For buck. I think we should tell everyone what coping mechanisms really are.
Well, I'm going to talk like a professor in this one. Why not? So I've researched coping mechanisms for years of my life. And in my research, I've noticed that coping mechanisms, what they are to me, and you can break down your definition, Casey, but I thank you for asking the question. So coping mechanisms are a strange thing that human beings, it's almost like it's a human being trait, but it could be animals and primates too. But human beings, when they have stress, they tend to do habitual things. Now, I believe these habitual things are based off trauma responses and experiences in your life, your childhood. I think your childhood is really where it all starts and where it comes down to the habituals. And I think genetics plays a part in it, but that is coping mechanisms. They do habitual things that could be, may or may not be harmful. Now, I know it's subjective, but we shall break down what we view as harmful and what we view as not harmful in this podcast. What do you think, Casey?
Thank you, Professor Jason.
Absolutely stupendously. It's a pleasure. Casey?
I think that was a very good analogy on what coping mechanisms are, because everyone develops different coping mechanisms. It depends on what ones you see in real life and what ones you develop through your own experiences. And some of them are healthy and some of them are not. And that's why we're going to talk about them today.
Yeah, and we talked, like I said, it's subjective. People will say one thing's bad, but not the other thing's bad. But, you know, if it causes harm to your body, it is supposedly bad, right? Now, It will be, I think we should have a trigger warning here for this podcast because coping mechanisms can be harmful, and I think it's good for us to talk about them. So we might bring up some harmful topics. I feel like that's fair to say, yes?
Most definitely. But I'm going to share some of my own coping mechanisms, and I'm just going to say that the majority of them are harmful. But now that I've indulged myself in this healing journey, I've completely gotten rid of those coping mechanisms and have looked at healthier coping mechanisms to help me handle my stress and my emotions.
You tell them, girl. Yeah, you tell them. Oh, preach, Casey.
Yeah, some unhealthy coping mechanisms that don't work are avoidance, which are pushing your emotions down, pretending things are fine, delaying dealing with your problems, and like short-term relief brings long-term damage, which is literally what avoidance does to you. so you can like bottle everything up, but eventually it's going to get to you and you're just going to crash out on anything and anyone that is in your presence for that time being. And who knows, you could be crashing out for like a week straight. I know from experience, because I really used to bottle all of my emotions up, and once I would let them out, it would be like I would lash out all the time. Well, not like lash out.
Yeah, mostly on me though. Like, she's really mean to me. She's been mean to me for months, actually.
No.
Help me, guys. Help me, guys. Hashtag cancel Casey.
No, but like, I've seen myself lash out at family when I probably shouldn't have been lashing out at family. Or,
ooh, that's something I want to talk about after you speak your point.
Lashing out on friends, and like, when I used to go to sports, that's how I would like take out my emotions. So I'm sorry in advance to anyone who played sports against me, because I was a very angry sports player. Because I used to avoid my emotions all the time. And that's just the truth. Like, I'll fully take accountability for that. Because I could have been a nicer person. I could have played less aggressive. Did I? No. The truth, actually. I like playing sports aggressively. Should I do that, though? Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll reevaluate, though, if I, end up hurting anyone anytime soon.
What? That's crazy context, but okay, cool. That was, yeah. I just see you like talking up these kids like you coach kids. I know that in soccer, I can say that much. And I can see you like being aggressive. When you say you're aggressive, I'm just picturing you be like, listen to you fucking kids.
I'm not. Okay.
You lose this game, it's over for you, okay? Schooling, everything. Degree, nothing, okay? No, it's done. Life, over. Just so you know.
I really don't talk like that when I coach anymore,
I know
though.
that. It's just when you say aggressive and when you say I don't hurt anybody, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You crazy. You cray.
I'm slowly getting better. Moving on. Another unhealthy coping mechanism is numbing, which can look like overworking, overeating, drinking, endless scrolling, and anything that disconnects from emotions. So doom scrolling is a big one, because no okay, yeah, maybe a little bit. I do doom scroll a little bit, but I'm getting better.
You sound like a crazy person in a psychiatric ward, like locked up. You're like, I'm getting better, guys. Let me out.
I am getting better though, because I'm working. I feel like next week when I'm not working, I might. No, I won't. I won't fall into the doom scroll. Whatever. I can't think of the word that I want to say right now, but I won't fall back into doom scrolling, but it is something that I've done for a very long time, and Jason, you can't say that you haven't done it too.
You have no evidence against me. You have to speak to my lawyer on that one. Yeah, I do some doom scrolling, but like, you know, like, it's just, yeah.
I only doom scroll when I keep finding funny ass videos, and then I'll find myself caught. In the past, I would doom scroll really sad videos, and I'd just sit in it for a long time.
Golf clap. I'm golf clapping right now. Oh wait. Yeah.
But now as soon as I see a sad video, I just click not interested, or I just scroll. Because I can't let that happen to me. Not now. Not ever. You know, you'll see sad videos on the internet all the time, but you can't let them get to you, and you can't let yourself scroll through like 10 sad videos, because you're just going to put yourself in a mental hole and probably make yourself numb. I know from experience.
Oh yes.
I've also really overworked myself a lot. When I go to work, I tend to do a lot more than I probably should. And that's the same thing for like literally anything I involve myself in. I'll probably overwork myself. I don't think it's made me numb. I think it's just made me look a little crazy. For some people, overworking does make them numb. I think. Do some of my emotions tend to shy away from themselves? Of course. But I'm not fully numb. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. Yep. No, I do what you're saying.
Another one that we can talk on is rumination, which is overthinking to the point of spiraling, trying to solve emotional pain with logic, and it creates anxiety and exhaustion. Rumination is something that I recently came across, actually, and I realized that that is actually something that I do fairly often. Because if you know me, and like I mean really know me, you know that I'm an extreme overthinker. And I always try to solve all of my problems with a certain type of logic. Which has obviously made me more anxious and made me exhausted. Like, this podcast should have been done days ago, but it was put off because I was genuinely exhausted. Because I'm so stressed out to the point of exhaustion. And that's not okay. I really need to be taking a step back and taking care of myself more. And not letting the thoughts consume me. Which is something that you can do for that.
Well said.
And also one that I do all the time, isolation, which is pulling yourself away from others and believing you can handle everything alone. The truth, you can't handle everything alone. And when you pull yourself away from others, it genuinely just... I mean, if you're okay with being alone, then you have a lot more strength than most people. But also, if you're alone for too long, you're going to develop depression and anxiety. And you're probably not going to be able to interact with people properly because you're in this isolation mindset where you think that you don't need other people to thrive. I tend to pull away from people when I feel like my emotions are too much because I don't want to, like, burden anybody. But at the end of the day, it's not a burden to anyone who actually cares about me and my feelings. So that is something that I'm working on, if I'm being so honest, because I do still tend to go to isolation, and it's making me very... I don't get depressed anymore, but it makes me angry.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I texted Casey like 2 days ago about the podcast. Like, and then I texted her mom at that point. I was like, yo, what up with Casey? Like, I haven't heard from her in a while. You little isolation woman, okay? You just thinking ruminate or whatever you're doing. I had to get you out of that, get your ass out of that. Called you in the morning. We actually talked for an hour or so, and it was good. And you felt probably better that day, didn't you? Because you didn't think ruminate and isolate. I'm trying to teach you a point.
Yeah. And I actually got up and like cleaned my space today, which was so nice.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, she was so proud of herself too. She was like, "Oh my god, I cleaned up while I was talking to you," and I was like, "Damn, I can barely like talk and like look at the same time. Like, I don't even know how to focus on that, but okay."
Do you want to talk about some of your unhealthy coping mechanisms, Jason?
Absolutely, Casey. I've been dying to talk, honestly, because I take it up so much. You know how I can be, so I had to let you, do your part first. Do a little bit of yes, cool. Because you know me, when I get started, I steamroll. Oh yeah, but I always say some really wise words of wisdom, and I like to say words of wisdom, and I will now currently presenting the wisdom maker. Wait, no, that sounded cooler in my head. Anyway, so when you spoke about isolation and rumination, that is not me. I am the complete opposite. I will go to crowds. I will rely on other people for my emotional behavior. I will literally go out. I will talk to people. I will do everything in my power to not be alone in my own thoughts. I cannot deal with my thoughts because my thoughts are completely messed up. They just think the worst things. They think, am I doing everything wrong in life? Am I going to do this? And I get all caught up in it. And it's really, really rough place to be in. I mean, you can see on previous videos on my TikTok, Chip Jason, check it out. Plug that in. Casey Timmons for her. I'll plug her in too. And when you check some videos, I had people that cared about me that actually reached out to me. It was like, are you suicidal? And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. See, so if people that care about me are thinking I'm suicidal, you can only imagine what goes on in this head of mine sometimes when it's quiet. And I don't like quietness. I really don't. And I let it be quiet for a while. I mean, financially and everything else, I really had to let it be. I couldn't really go. I couldn't do anything. So it was, and I had work, so I distracted myself. Now I recently lost the job, so that coping mechanism is no more for now. So it's going to be harder, but I'm hoping to do the best that I can. So, and as for like something that I did a lot growing up, especially even at your age, Casey, because I know we're a little older, like a few years. So, but what I did a lot was I actually hurt the people that cared about me most, and I always did that because it was a coping mechanism in the sense that if I can get angry at you and like literally throw the worst tantrums ever, that means I love you the most. And I know how fucked that sounds, but it's true. I trust you that no matter how crazy I get, that you will not leave me. So I will be able to bottle it up and explode on you, the people who care about most, because I know you won't leave. And I know it's so wrong to say, but it's true. I suffered with that for a long time growing up, and the way I was and the way I am. I would bottle things up and care about what other people think, and not be able to stand up for myself and stuff. And I still struggle a little bit with that, but I'm doing a lot better since. I mean, obviously, since I was a baby boy, but it was hard, and my dad always said that to me, and family members always said that to me. Is like, why do you push away? Why do you get angry with the ones who are trying to care for you most? It's like, because I have so much emotions, and having autism also is a big aspect of that. I mean, if you look into it, Casey, or anybody, having autism is like so overwhelming emotions. It is such a struggle. It is so hard. I think it's so hard for anyone that loves you, truly loves you, to understand the concept of the emotions and feeling constant, like your brain just doesn't show up. And having ADHD with that, ADHD as they call it, is ADHD and autism. Your brain is one singular concept that is very different amongst any other brain. Your brain is literally not normal. Like it's not like an ADHD brain where it has some normal things. Like, no, my brain is completely wired differently from any human being on this planet, except for people who have ADHD. And even then, it's still wired differently from other ADHDs.
Yeah, because everyone has their own individual wire.
Yeah. But But it's very fascinating if you look into it. And then like obviously we talk about like unhealthy coping methods as vaping and stuff. But I realized that without nicotine, I kind of medicate with nicotine, and I have like these Zonics, or they're called in Canada, but like these Zins. But like.
But we've talked about before substances aren't a great coping mechanism. The more that you use the more that you use Zins, the more that you vape, the more that you smoke, the more that you drink, the more you're adding to the illnesses that you already have and are dealing with.
Casey. When you bring up, like, smoking, like, yes, but there's healthy alternatives in the sense that, you know, addiction is not easy to face. We went over that in episode 1 when it all began back in the day. And I think when it comes to coping mechanisms, I think humor is a coping mechanism, is it not?
Yeah.
Like, you about to lose your job, I lost my job, and here we are laughing our asses up because we like, oh, life sucks sometimes, but we're gonna make the best of it.
Exactly. You always.
Yes, brother.
Oh my. No, but even if bad things happen to you, you have to try to see the light in life. You can't just be like, oh, shit, I lost my job. Like, it's the end of the world. Like, you're going to find another job. Probably a better one. The reality behind it is God probably got rid of that job from your life because it wasn't meant to be in your life.
Yeah, and I think one healthy coping mechanism that I had in the past is, like, you know, I would, like, I'm ashamed to say it, but, like, I would get angry enough to a point, like, I've only done 2 or 3 times in my life, but I got to a point where I punched holes in walls, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I punched a hole in a door before because of a crazy incident, and I just got to a point, and, like, it just, you know, I used to punch things like crazy because I had so much. I couldn't expose my temper, my feelings, and nobody would listen to me. Like, the family had enough at one point and was like, no, you can't treat me that way, which is fair. But I didn't know where to go at that point, so I just hurt myself. It's a type of self-harm, right? And I struggled with that for a while growing up, and eventually, like, I just, you know, after having my child and stuff, I really tempered down and, like, learned to control that a lot better and, you know, use my words a lot more articulately and stuff, which is great. Like, my son is my lifesaver, you know, and it's great. Praise God for having him. Like, you know, for keeping him healthy and safe, and he's my world for sure. And I just like, for me, coping mechanisms are so complicated, you know, because, you know, we all have our different complications of coping, but like I said before, like Dr. Chippy, Dr. Jason, whatever you want to call me, I said before, and I'll say it again, all right? Listen closely. It is based off the experiences of your childhood that creates you as a person. That's why people want purity. That's why people say, like, let them be children, is because people know that they can be so manipulated, so changed in that age to have so many habits growing up. Now, yes, there's genetics. I get that. But if they're never introduced to those things, those genetics won't be in play. Like for example, if you grow up no smoking is bad and whatever, right? You're less likely to smoke, even if your genetics are, like, really, really high with nicotine, and, like, you know, your mother and father were high smokers. If you yourself were taught that it was bad, raised that it was bad, you're less likely, not impossible, but you're less likely to smoke and adapt the addiction that the genetics come into. So there's 2 different things at play here. I can't even do the accent long enough, but there's addiction. Listen here, all right? You gotta listen here. You're the
I'm listening.
Casey. Dang it!
I'm back in school. Teach me.
Yeah, you will get detention. I swear. You're staying after class. That's it, Casey. Straight up. So. Anyway, Casey, listen. Take accountability for actions. You're interrupting my class. So, anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you have to divide them up by childhood and genetics, right? The 2 separate things. One thing you can't change, genetics, how you're born. So genetics is a whole different conversation, but you can, based off your child and how you raise your children. I think that's what really makes coping mechanisms healthy and unhealthy. It's how you raise your children. I'm not saying that you're bad parents. I'm a parent myself. I'm not saying you're bad parents because your children has bad coping mechanisms. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that we have to put it on the parents more than anything else when it comes to making this world better for coping mechanisms. I put that pressure on parents and parents alone, basically. Because, yes, as you grow older, you must learn to cope healthier. But at the end of the day, it starts with the children. It starts with the growth of the child. And I think parents have an idea of how important they are in a child's life. They have an idea and they have a concept, and they're like, yeah, I get it. Like I can hear parents now screaming into the freaking fucking camera right now and being like, or into the mic, into their car, or whatever they're listening to the podcast on. And I can hear parents being like, yeah, I obviously know that. Like, but do you internalize this child? Like, really take a moment as a parent. Have the maturity to take a moment as a parent and look at your child. If your child is in the room listening to this, or, look at your child next time you can and be like, holy crap, this is a tiny human being. I have not only, the responsibility of keeping them safe and stuff, or keeping her safe, but this child is going to grow up with my coping mechanisms. If I don't change this, if I don't break that cycle, then my child's going to see these things and be like normalized, right? Because I vape, and I got to internalize that and realize that my child's going to see that, right? And see me vaping and, ever see me smoking or whatever, right? Like, my child never has seen me drink or anything like that. But as for smoking, that's something that I need to work on in that regard, and try to work on that, not him seeing that stuff. And it's not sheltering your child; it's waiting till the perfect age. I mean, that's subjective, but I'm waiting for the perfect age to have that conversation with them, of course.
Yeah.
And I think that as a parent, you can't just say, "Oh, you can't teach your child that this is just an adult thing." It doesn't work that way. A child's brain does not work that way. You can't just tell a child, this is for adults, this is not for your age. A child's brain will work for a short time, but then your child will start asking more questions. You know what I mean? And be like, what do you mean? Like, why is adult things different than child things? And they're not going to understand biology. You can't just sit down a 5-year-old and be like, body is different. We take higher Tylenol because, we can't do that. Their brains cannot perceive that, but what they can perceive is say, this is very unsafe for you, okay? And daddy takes it because daddy, it's not healthy for daddy either, but you have to break it down in, like, simple terms. So, like, unhealthy, not good, right? So you say not good for dad. Dad takes it because dad doesn't understand fully of how bad it is for him, and he's learning to make it better for himself. And that you word things like that to children, right? Instead of saying, like, so many parents make the mistake and be like, this is for adults, this is for children. And that doesn't make sense. Like, yes, you can do that first, right? But guarantee that child's going to come back and be like, why is that? Why is that? So you have to really use terminology. You have to mix words up. And I think once you start doing that as parents, I think if parents start listening to that advice, I can't tell people how to parent. That's the thing. We have freedoms. I get that, and that's fine. But I really think parents should really keen on that. And I think this world would be a lot better place if parents really took that into consideration, what I said. And I think their children will grow up with less unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Thank you for that, Jason.
Thank you. And I also think I want to speak really quickly, Casey, on self-harm and trigger warning. But I think self-harm, as in cutting yourself, as in doing those things, I've seen it done. I've seen it when I was in the shelter. I've seen so many youth that take part in it. Thank God, I never took part in that myself. Never had that urge or whatever. But yeah, but I want to speak on those things. And I don't think that, I want to clarify, that is not, I want to say it isn't, but it's case-by-case basis. But it could be the parents' fault. It might not be the parents' fault. And what I mean by that, there's two separate cases. Okay, I'll give you two separate scenarios to break in your head. You can close your eyes, Casey, and picture this, or just stick with me with whatever you do.
I don't have to because.
What's her?
Because I've done it. It wasn't because my parents did it or whatever. It was more so because I saw it online.
Okay, yeah. So online has a big part in this too. I can't forget that also. So there's three different scenarios then. The third scenario is what you've stated. See it online, do it.
Yeah.
Okay, bad, right? So that's one scenario. But the two scenarios that I want to bring up when it comes to a parent and not parent's fault. So the parent's fault is when they do not give a safe place to have that conversation with them if they're thinking about it, and they don't know how to bottle they have so much stuff to deal with, and they don't know where to go. And if the parents being like, oh, whatever, it's your feelings, like grow up or be a man, really, that's a big one for men, of course, is don't be so sensitive, be a man. And they bottle it up, and then they start harming themselves because they don't know how to
properly deal with their emotions.
Exactly, right? And they grow into that because they have no one to go to, right? And it's really sad, honestly. And then there's people who where it's not the parent's fault if they're an open-minded parent, in the sense of, I'm not saying be completely open-minded with this crazy world, but I am saying, I won't go deep into that, but I am saying that open-minded with emotions and feelings. And if you go, if you're an open-minded parent about emotions and feelings, and your kid is still hurting themselves, that is where medication comes in. That's where therapy comes in, but you need to look at yourself as a parent. If you're doing the best that you can, truly, right? And you're going through a lot, and there's bills, and I'm a parent too. I can speak on that aspect of it. If you're doing the best you possibly can as a parent, and you just can't do as much as you think you can, seek help for the child and maybe for yourself. And that's when I say seek help. But first, really, I encourage people, it sounds bad in theory, depending on case by case, but I really encourage people to really try to look within their self-strength. And I think that's what I talked to you, Casey, about this before we started recording, but it is what we're trying to do, in the people that we're trying to reach. And we're trying to reach everyone, of course, but we're trying to reach the particular person that really tries to look for that self-help and look to better themselves to the best of their ability, and to watch people like us where I don't know if you're medicated, Casey, but I'm not medicated. I struggle with a lot of things. I mean, I self-medicate with nicotine, but hey, we all know how that goes. But like, I'm not medicated or anything like that. I'm trying to figuring it out, right? And what we're trying to figure out, and the name of the game, really, of our little talk show here, is what we're trying to figure out is how to be better within ourselves without having to rely on other people, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, relying on people isn't bad. There's nothing bad with it. I'm not shaming anybody for it. Okay, I get it. Some people need that. But if you're listening to this podcast, it means to us, and to me anyway, I won't speak for us solely, but Casey might agree with me, but I genuinely, if you are listening to this podcast right now, you are trying to be the best self you can be, and internalize your faults, and be the best self you can be. And if you got to this far, if you're listening to more than one episode of us, then you are on the steps, just like us. You're trying to figure it out. And figure out your soul, figure out internally who you are as a person and what you want to become. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out also with you guys as a listener. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. I kind of went on a tangent about parenting, but I think that is, I think it's a really good point, and I hope that there's parents out there that listen.
And, obviously, this entire journey is fully a soul journey. Not that we don't want to depend on other people, but also when we continuously depend on other people, we're not really developing any independence, and we're not being able to have emotional awareness and really have healthy connections with people, because once you're fully depending on somebody else, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. And it makes you do and say things that you probably shouldn't do or say. So, moving forward to healthy coping mechanisms, obviously, emotional awareness is a healthy coping mechanism. Like naming your feelings, checking in with yourself, and understanding your triggers. Because once you do all three of those things, you can really get to what's going on with you, and you can also do things like mindful techniques, which could consider deep breathing, grounding exercises like meditation, and go for mindful walks. Going for a walk can actually be very soothing.
Oh, you know what's one I did today? Treat yourself.
That too. That too. That's a mindful technique in itself. Also, journaling is very good. Not journaling to the point where you're like, oh, I hate everything. No, journaling to the point where you're like, this is how I feel and this is how I'm going to improve. You always have to put that aspect in it.
Okay.
That's how I've been doing it, actually.
Well, I want to speak on a very personal story. And I think I haven't talked to you about this, Casey. Basically, what happened is, personal story. I had a friend who I went to their house and stuff, and I found out about them that they like Legos and they have that childish side of them, and they exposed that to me, and they thought of judgment, and I was like, no, that's so cool, and like I encourage them to be themselves, and that's a healthy coping mechanism, whether it's Legos, whether it's action figures, whatever. Don't be suppressing what makes you happy, right? You know what I mean? Like, you can run with that and take it a little too political or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, if you have items that give you pleasure, as in teddies or something like that, then stinging, go do it. You know what I mean? That's a healthy coping mechanism, and it's sad to see people like my friend and others that struggle with that and not, feeling welcomed as that, and I'm so supportive of people just being themselves and being so happy, and you should see how happy that made that guy. You know what I mean? It made him so happy just sitting and playing Legos. Did we smoke weed and got stoned? Yes, but it was a really good experience for both of us, and and to not judge other people on healthy coping mechanisms. You may think it's weird, but if it's not harming their body, if you're not doing self-harm, if you're not doing something, if they're doing something that they're not questioning is bad, they're not coming to you from that angle, and they're not harming themselves, then don't question it, because it brings them joy and it makes this world better. It makes them have an easier life. You know what I mean?
The world needs more joy.
Exactly. So that's my story, Casey. So go talk your little structure, you bully.
Well, my next point is literally basically what you just said.
Oh, really? They're Detective Casey? Wow, maybe it's like I told you that, but you had to, like, interrupt me and be all like, oh, it's my structure.
So, you can also have healthy connections, like talking to a trusted person, having vulnerability with someone else, and having support systems like friends, therapy, partners, so on. So, once you find someone you trust, try to have a healthy connection with them. Don't shy away from them. Also, don't over-depend on someone for your own happiness.
Yes!
Because you have to be able to be happy on your own in order to make other people happy.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'm so guilty of that.
Another one is action-based coping. So this could be setting boundaries, breaking tasks into steps, and problem solving from a grounded state. So I've recently started setting boundaries, which has made me feel a lot better about myself, because now that I'm setting boundaries and breaking down like my dreams and goals into steps has made things a lot easier and has diminished some of the stress that I had on my shoulders.
Is it possible, Casey, I just realized, is it possible that you structuring this is a coping mechanism because you feel like loss of structure in life lately?
Maybe.
I am such a psychologist. I should take psychology.
Maybe, but also I like having structured things. But also, you have to realize that once you plan things might not always go to plan. But you also...
Especially with Jason Chip.
Which, what I'm saying by that is, you can't hold on to the expectations of things.
Get it, girl.
because you're only going to either A, make yourself feel worse if it goes bad, or B, if it goes really well, you're going to want to push yourself even harder, which could probably put you into a bad mental state because you feel like you have to perform for good things to happen. Does that make sense?
Indubitably.
So the last one I have is self-compassion. So being gentle with yourself, allowing imperfection to come into your life, because not everyone's perfect. Not everyone's perfect. The last
what?
The last part of self-compassion is acknowledging past coping came from survival. I've recently been trying to get myself out of survival mode, which is why I'm still holding on to past coping mechanisms, which I am letting go of. I'm letting go of. As we learned in the last one, letting things go actually rids yourself of anxiety that you have within. Stop, don't say that. That's making me think of that one video that I sent you the other day.
What did you send me the other day?
The one of the little boy that went to Disneyland, and he was like, guys, I just got back from Disneyland, and he was like, but I want to go back to
Disneyland. Yeah. Hey, I want to talk about something that's undersold. A healthy coping mechanism that we never brought up and most people don't talk about is crying.
That is a healthy coping mechanism, so you should actually let yourself cry. If you feel tears coming, let it come out, because at the end of the day, it's probably something that needs to come out. It needs to be shed. It needs to be let go. So we have to let ourselves feel the emotions that that come to us at certain moments.
Yeah.
Not saying that if you feel a full rush of anger that you should lash out on everyone around you. No, I'm talking about crying and allowing yourself to release what you have within. So shifting from unhealthy to healthy, awareness first, noticing patterns without judgment. So you really can't judge yourself for the patterns that you allow yourself to continuously go through, because it's a cycle in itself, and it's a cycle that's very hard to break. But you can break it with time and work and support. Identify what the unhealthy coping is protecting you from. Sometimes we tend to use unhealthy coping mechanisms to protect us from things that are actually healthy for us. Avoidance, isolation, so on. Replace one behavior at a time. You can't replace them all in one go, because if you try to do that, you're probably going to keep spiraling, and you're probably going to fall down. And I don't know, guys. Build healthier habits gradually, because if you try to build them up all at once, like I just said, you'll probably get overwhelmed.
Absolutely, positively, you are on a track record right now, Missy Nude.
Also, celebrate progress, not perfection, because, like we said, nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Okay, Hannah Montana.
What? Yo, you catch me. Yo, I'll be wearing a wig.
No, but really, like, nobody's perfect, and any progress is good progress if you're taking a step in the right direction. Obviously, if you're taking steps back, probably don't celebrate that. You should probably pick yourself up and be like, yo, let's do this. But, progress is something to be celebrated. Like, I think both of us have done great progress on ourselves throughout these few episodes, and the last few months that we've been talking. I don't know about you, Jason.
Maybe, perhaps. When I listen to myself in episode 2, I'm like so guilty of like ruminating when it comes to my ex and stuff. And you were also pretty there too. And when we listen to ourselves now, when we listen to ourselves now, it's like we're like two different people. Like
I wouldn't even believe who I was.
Yeah.
If I was talking to myself from like, I want to say August, I probably wouldn't recognize myself at all.
Yeah, that's true. True.
Okay, we gotta close though. So, coping isn't about being strong, it's about being supported. Your coping mechanisms can evolve as you grow, and you deserve healthier tools than the ones that you use. So thank you, Jason, for joining me on this.
Thank you, Casey, for being part of this also.
And we will see you guys next week for another podcast where we talk about boundaries and burnout.
Yeah, boundaries and burnout. So I'm just looking at ice cream. I'm really craving ice cream right now.
Jason's really off track right now. But we will be back next week to talk about boundaries and burnout and really, like...
You can't be exposing me. You can't be exposing me like that to the people. What the heck, man?
Yeah.
Yes, we will. We will
do
that.
Remember to stay safe. Remember that it's okay to not be okay. Keep pushing yourselves. You guys are doing amazing. We love you, as always. And, yeah.
And if you're not doing amazing, it's okay to not be okay also, as Casey said. So
that.
I know, I realized halfway through the speech. But shut up. Shut up, okay? Just end the stream.